Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. We are back once again, broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and D Live is back. Technical problems fixed. Welcome to Truthseekers. Tonight, we are going to return to one of my favorite rabbit holes, and that is the rabbit hole of one Linda Moulton Howdy Doody. Linda Moulton Howe, pardon me, who we recently caught here. Caught her dead to rights selling 100% provably fake pictures of aliens as real aliens. And it's interesting to know that even after being caught 100% red-handed selling 100% provably fake images of aliens, she still hasn't taken those videos down. She still hasn't apologized to her audience or anyone for essentially taking money for fake pictures. But generating stories to sell out of fake pictures is not something new to Linda Moulton Howe, because believe it or not, this latest time we caught her selling 100% provably fake pictures of aliens is not the first time. We caught her once before selling a 100% provably fake picture of an alien. That one came from the Area 51 video game, PlayStation 1 or 2. I think it might have even been PlayStation 1. I knew the image came from a video game as soon as I saw it, because I owned that video game. Used to play it. It was a great shoot 'em up. You ran around Area 51 shooting aliens. And in that case, she never apologized. Now we fast forward a little bit, and Linda Moulton Howe then gets caught interviewing a Nazi alien hybrid girl who has said all kinds of ridiculous things, talking about the good Nazis, talking about, a lot of crazy things. And there's some interesting, weird thing that happened, because our coverage of that Nazi girl was suddenly posted on Linda Moulton Howe's YouTube page for, I believe, a week or two before someone took it down. And I don't know what that's about. But welcome, friends. It is December 21st, 2022, and you're in the right place, and so am I. And it's the correct time, of course, to proceed with the proceedings. So I wondered, after getting caught selling 100% provably fake alien pictures for a second time, then getting caught looking stupid and foolish, interviewing a girl running around talking about good Nazis. What's next, right, for Linda Moulton Howe? And by the way, those of you people who send me hate mail for covering this lady, she is making tens of thousands of dollars selling provably fake stories about aliens with provably fake evidence, and in some cases, provably fake sources. So, maybe you should direct your hate mail to her and not to me. I don't create the deceptions here. I simply peel back the layers of those deceptions and let people see the truth and make up their own mind. And to those people who, I get these emails, like people say, well, she's a nice lady. Why don't you leave her alone? Nice ladies don't scam people with fake information. Nice ladies also, by the way, do not re-victimize victims of crime. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Or victims of tragedy. It's not clear that these are crimes, because when we see what she's doing lately, I have no more sympathy for this woman. Not that I had much to begin with. After all, she is, by all accounts, by several accounts, this woman has made herself a millionaire telling alien fairy tales for the past several decades. And also, I don't want to hear about what great work she did when she started, because although I may have believed, and many believed, that first thing she did, called an alien harvest, was at least decent work, that can be picked apart as well. cherry pick sources, leave out anything that doesn't support your argument that aliens are mutilating these cows. Um, but the latest thing that she has done is really problematic for me. Now, many of you have asked me to cover this missing 411 or asked me what I thought of it. And I didn't want to speak out of turn, so I got two of the four books that he sells. And I found it, first of all, a compelling mystery, but then a big letdown. Because when you really dig into this missing 411, I think that statistically it can be proven that more people disappear in wilderness areas than disappear in, urban populated areas. It's just nature, if you will. So, David Paulides, a lot of that can be picked apart. But before we get to that, I do want to just mention people asked me to look into this Ben Hansen UFO stuff. And I didn't want to because I looked at it and said that's likely spotlights from like a premiere or movie event or something where they have one of those spotlight trailers outside shooting spotlights up into the sky. I didn't think it was a UFO at all. That was my personal opinion. But Mick West did some excellent work on that and quickly, quickly solved that case. And by the way, the other reason I'm mentioning this Ben Hansen UFO case is because, I used to like that guy. I used to respect that guy, but he's another guy that this year on my Christmas shopping list is clown shoes for Ben Hansen. So now we got to get a pair of clown shoes for Jimmy Church. We definitely need a pair of clown shoes for David Wilcock and Corey Good. Now we need a pair of clown shoes for Ben Hansen because Ben Hansen likely knew that this was just spotlights. He gets national television appearances. And by the way, this story got picked up all over the media. I'm trying to see here if we can. Unfortunately, Stephen Greenstreet made an excellent video on this, by the way. It's on my Twitter. You can follow me at Stephen Cambion. I retweeted it. But unfortunately, I cannot play it because Stephen Greenstreet used some copyrighted Christmas music. But Ben Hansen appeared on Fox with Tucker Carlson talking about what a mystery this was. But he just happened to leave out that he was aware that there was a huge Christmas light display with spotlights right in the area that these UFOs were spotted. So to me, this is not a mystery. It's a joke, and Ben Hansen should know better than to run with garbage stories like this. But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. Ben Hansen used to be one of the good guys. He used to debunk UFO fraudsters on his television show. Now he is one, or he's quickly becoming one, because the last couple of things that Ben Hansen was pushing turned out to be nothing burgers. Bite down on that nothing burger, right? And this story of these Wisconsin UFOs was reported widely on the Daily Mail, Fox News, Yahoo News, the New York Post, Metro.co. The Metro in the UK, Daily Caller, Newsbreak, The Independent, International Business Times, and The Sun. And this will teach us something, friends. So these are the media outlets. One second here. I'm going to share my screen. This is from Stephen Greenstreet's excellent video, which I apologize, but I can't share because of the copyrighted music. These are the media outlets which reported this story. All of these media outlets ran with this story of the Wisconsin UFOs. Nobody bothered, though, to check with the local cities to see if there was any spotlights in the area. And there was. And so I can play this muted. So Stephen Greenstreet made an excellent video, by the way, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, because the origin of this UFO flap was someone's Christmas lights display that just so happened to have spotlights on top of it. Here's the source of the mysterious UFOs, friends. And this will teach us something about a lie by omission. Why do UFO hoaxes work? It works because of the lie by omission. All Ben Hansen had to do to get this story all over major media outlets and get national television interviews about it is forget to tell people that right near where these UFOs were spotted is this huge Christmas display, the Flanders Family Christmas, with all of these spotlights on the roof. And this is going all night long, these spotlights. I don't know. Instantly, when I saw these, I recognized it as likely spotlights reflecting off of the clouds or the atmosphere. I don't know what's going on with Ben Hansen, but he just did the lie by omission. Why ruin a good story that you can sell? Why ruin a good story that you can sell just by giving people all of the facts and all of the information? This is how a UFO hoax works. They just leave out the part about, what it really is. Ben Hansen's been doing this a long, long time. I don't believe that Ben Hansen was so naive. I don't believe that Ben Hansen was so naive that he somehow just, he just missed this, right? He just missed it. Ben Hansen has been doing this a long, long time. He knows better than this, right? And by the way, Mick West looked at this and said, it's likely spotlights right away. So did I. So did many other people. But that didn't stop Ben Hansen from claiming otherwise, right? From arguing with people who said instantly when they saw this, it's likely spotlights. But thank God, God bless Mick West. And thank God for Mick West, because, and I don't understand all the hate that you UFO people have for Mick West. Do you want to know if it's aliens or spotlights? Wouldn't you prefer to know the truth? Oh, this isn't aliens. This is just spotlights. This isn't spaceships flying around in our atmosphere. This is just spotlights. Don't you want to know the truth? Or do you just want to live in a delusional fantasy land where everything is a spaceship, flares, Chinese lanterns, drones? That's all spaceships, right? We're being visited. It's all spaceships. And this is a big problem that I see. And I, for one, don't understand. Mick West does the entire world a community service by looking at these things, spending his time and figuring out exactly what they are. Exactly what they are. Let me do that one more time, make sure we get the audio. So this is fair use. This is a transformative work. I doubt that Mick West would mind, but we're going to be sharing his video about these mysterious lights.
These videos of lights in the sky were promoted by Ben Hansen and the Daily Mail as maybe being some kind of UFO. I thought they were spotlights, so using the video and the rough locations given by Ben, I figured out one good line of sight and another approximate one. They converged near Belgium, Wisconsin. So I emailed the local Chamber of Commerce. They got back to me in minutes saying that there was a light show on County Road B near the Holy Cross Church that had just added some spotlights. This seemed likely, as it was very near where the lines of sight met, so I did a little Googling and found the Flanders Family Christmas Light Show. I messaged them to see if they had moving spotlights, and yes they did. They even sent me a video. Their spotlights are on the roofline, and they tilt down towards the location of one of the videos, so it's pretty much a perfect match. So, case solved. Not UFOs, just some spotlights. A fun little investigation. But the real puzzle here is why people thought it might have been anything else.
Yeah. Well, people thought it might be something else because there's money. You don't want to give up that UFO money, right? Or the publicity, right? Ben Hansen got several television interviews over these mysterious lights. I don't think there was anything mysterious about this. And sorry, not sorry. Listen, this is very important. If you're going to claim things are mysterious, you better damn well do your work. And last I checked, Ben Hansen is still furiously backpedaling and also claiming it couldn't have been that Christmas display because those were only 450 watt lights or something like that. I beg to differ. And so would anybody with a brain and a conscience that's not trying to sell you something. So there we have it. The mystery of the Wisconsin UFOs solved in 5 minutes of actual research. something that Ben Hansen should have done before he tried to sell this story as something mysterious. And now, congratulations, Ben Hansen. I once liked and respected you because you used to bust UFO frauds like Dr. Jonathan Reed and others. Now you're becoming one because somewhere along the line, Ben Hansen figured out that nobody wants to buy. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Welcome to my world, Ben Hansen. But it's the right thing to do when something is fake or not mysterious, to point out this is not something mysterious. That's the right thing to do. A slime ball pretends he doesn't know these were spotlights, right? A media hound looking for money, fame, or exposure for some bullshit he's selling. He's probably selling a book or something. And by the way, there is some debate about Ben Hansen's claims of working for the FBI, or so I've heard, but I have not dug into that aspect of his claims, and maybe we'll be doing that, and we'll see if he's telling the truth about that. I think there is some confusion about his claims, right? And that's what he bases his whole, thing on. Well, I worked for the FBI, so I must be a great investigator. We don't know what he worked for the FBI as. He could have been Nick Pope, a secretary, for all we know. So congratulations, Ben Hansen. I'm going to send you some clown shoes for Christmas. And then after the holidays, I've got you in my calendar to look into, because maybe, just maybe, Ben has been pulling fast ones on everyone this whole time. To be clear, I don't know that yet, but we'll do a full investigation into Mr. Hansen's background claims and see if those claims are accurate, because his claims of UFOs seem to be bullshit every time. The last couple, trying to get big publicity over these things, pushing a narrative, right? So we're gonna check in on the 1 second. We're gonna check in. So David Paulides is a former police officer who is now an investigator and writer, and of course he's known for his self-published books. So to those people who think there really is something to his theories, I just want to mention that, if you have a really great story, you don't have to self-publish your own books. Generally, you'll find a publisher. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. So his Missing 411 is a series of books and films. And this is from Wikipedia, which document the cases of people who have gone missing in national parks and elsewhere, and maintain that these cases are unusual and mysterious, contrary to data analysis, which suggests that they are not actually statistically mysterious or even unexpected. So according to, statistical analysis, there's nothing strange going on here, right? Besides the Missing 411 stuff, Mr. Paulides also self-published 2 Bigfoot-related books and founded the research group North American Bigfoot Search, for which he serves as a director. And remember that David Paulides was involved in that paper in 2013, which claimed that Bigfoot was real. He said, we orchestrated the search that led to picking Dr. Ketchum. Do you guys remember that, when somebody claimed they had Bigfoot DNA and it turned out to be a veterinary laboratory headed by Ketchum that made that determination? She issued a press release prior to peer review claiming that the DNA sequencing study confirmed the existence of a hominin hybrid crossbreed between modern humans and an unknown primate. 2 months of Science, the paper was analyzed by Sharon Hill of Doubtful News for the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. Hill's report concluded that the paper was of poor quality, stating that the few experienced geneticists who viewed the paper reported a dismal opinion of it, noting that it made little sense. So David Paulides was involved in that, likely a hoax to prove the existence of Bigfoot through DNA. And it turns out to be sort of a, wackadoo veterinarian doing that scientific study. It wasn't true. They didn't have Bigfoot DNA. They didn't prove that there's a cross genetic or cross species between early human hominids and humans. They didn't prove anything. So that was a hoax that Paulides was involved in. Then we get to 411, and we hear that Kali Pollock, a data scientist and host of Data Skeptic podcast, documented his analysis of Paulides' claims in Missing 411 and presented his analysis to a skeptical camp held in 2017 by the Monterey County Skeptics. He concluded that the allegedly unusual disappearances represent nothing unusual at all. So that may tell you, friends, why I haven't covered Missing 411, though I did purchase 2 of his books. He is good at convincing you of something mysterious. And what is he convincing us of? Essentially, he's saying because dogs could not find a scent trail in some of these disappearances, that this is something paranormal. This is something experimental, or, my lab or something, or Bigfoot is abducting these people. Or then he goes to Linda Moulton Howe, who essentially claims that aliens are involved in the disappearance of these people. And by the way, here's where I have a problem with all of this, ethically and morally. And to you people who like to, send me nasty emails for covering these things, I would just like to say that, how do you think that the victims' families of these people who disappeared in national parks feel about a woman, Linda Moulton Howe, who has been caught selling 100% provably fake pictures of aliens as real pictures of aliens? How do you think those victims' families feel knowing that a woman like Linda Moulton Howe is exploiting their missing relative, claiming essentially, number one, that these disappearances are somehow linked to cattle mutilations? There is absolutely, positively, without a doubt, zero evidence that any of the people disappearing in national parks is somehow linked to cattle mutilations. There is zero evidence. I'm going to say it again. There is zero evidence at all that aliens are somehow involved in the disappearance of these people in these national parks. So when people send me nasty emails telling me that she's a nice lady, leave her alone, I think about the victims, the unintended victims that her scamming people with fake alien stories has. There are real people being hurt by her decision to, number one, host someone that many people would say is discredited. By the way, there's a lot of shady things in this David Paulides past. He's involved in a Bigfoot con, essentially, and his books are largely speculative without any actual evidence of mysterious or paranormal activity involved in the disappearance of these people. And then Linda Moulton Howe gets involved, and suddenly it must be aliens, right? Or, to quote a meme, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. This is why I have a problem with this woman, because do you not understand that there is an actual and real set of victims here? How would you feel if one of your family members disappeared 10 years ago in a national forest or a national park and was never found, and then some wackadoo who's been caught selling fake pictures of aliens goes on the internet and suggests that your relative must have been kidnapped by aliens somehow, and does so with a discredited guest whose theories have been largely disproven, who was involved in a Bigfoot con, right, to sell a fake Bigfoot story about Bigfoot DNA. How would you feel if this was your family member and this woman is going on the internet claiming that somehow your relative must have been kidnapped by aliens, right? So it is fair to say that there is real world victims of Linda Moulton Howe's garbage peddling fake stories. There are real world victims here. And by the way, Linda Moulton Howe, I'm going to reach out to some of the people involved in those missing cases that both you and David Paulides are using to sell stories. And I want to ask them how they feel about being re-victimized by you and your friends, suggesting aliens were somehow possibly involved here in these mysterious disappearances. And by the way, it is a tragedy when someone disappears and you don't get that closure. You don't even know what happens, right? It's a huge tragedy. And I think, for one, that the family members and friends and loved ones of these people who vanished have been through enough. And they don't need a wackadoo like you going on the internet with no evidence suggesting that you've somehow, don't worry, everybody. Linda Moulton Howe cracked the case, and all those people were just abducted by aliens. That's why the dogs can't find the scent trail, because spaceships came down and grabbed those people. Is there any evidence of that, Miss Howe? Of course not. But that won't stop her from re-victimizing all those families, from exploiting their tragedy so that she can make money selling fake stories. I've had enough of this shit from this lady. So we're going to cite fair use, and we'll listen into some of this interview with wackadoo Linda Moulton Howe and her wackadoo friend. And by the way, I'm glad for tonight, because now we kill two birds with one stone. Maybe that's a bad analogy. I don't have to cover David Paulides and Missing 411. I can, and I can show you all of the statistical evidence and proof that there's nothing mysterious going on there. And also, David Paulides has at various times claimed that the National Forest or the government is somehow covering up all these disappearances. I talked to someone involved who said he is absolutely incorrect in that assessment or that statement. I think that some of the controversy has to be that different national parks do not intercommunicate. So in other words, a national park in California does keep records of people who vanished or became missing in the park, but they won't communicate that, for example, with a state park that's in New York. So the national system doesn't have some record keeping that can show you how many people per year vanish in all of the state parks across our entire nation. That doesn't mean there's a cover up, because you can call each of the national parks and the people in charge of them and get that information. But David Paulides suggests that there's some massive government cover up here, right? And by the way, in his books, David Paulides never actually says what mysterious paranormal thing is causing all these disappearances. It's all implications and conjecture and speculation. But some people have said, because he also is selling Bigfoot stories, that he believes it's Bigfoot. And he's been asked about that, and he sort of dances around it, right? Great. But before we get to, I'm going to cite fair use here. We'll put our fair use banner. This is transformative work. We're educating the public. Before we get to Linda Moulton Howe, wackadoo, interviewing another wackadoo to sell probably fake stories here. And by the way, do I believe that aliens abducted all those people? No. And you know why I believe that? Because there is zero evidence of all of that. There is absolutely zero evidence. One second here. Let me do that one more time. I always forget to share the audio I apologize, friends. All right. So we've got a skeptic talking about David Paulides and his missing 411 theories. And by the way, before Linda Moulton Howe, wants to sell a story implying or suggesting that all these people may be disappearing due to aliens, isn't it her job to look into her guests' claims and see if these are truly mysterious disappearances, if these are truly paranormal events that are causing the vanishing or disappearance of these people in these national parks? She didn't do it, because if she would have found out that there's not much to David Paulides' claims. Let's get into it, friends, and listen to a skeptic analyzing the claims of David and his missing 411 series.
It's foundationally with these 4 books from author David Paulides. So Paulides, he doesn't necessarily articulate precisely what it is, which is part of the problem, although I'll get to his definition. But let me first say a little bit about how I discovered it. He gets on and does these interviews where he says that there are clusters of people who are or clusters of missing persons cases all across the country, and some of them are centered around national parks. Now, clustering caught my attention because it's something I do a lot of professionally. I know almost all the clustering algorithms and how they work, and I thought, hey, this would be a cool thing for me to do some data science related to, see if these are indeed clusters or what they might mean. As it turns out, his data doesn't really beget that sort of analysis, but I got really interested in what is he actually claiming here? So let's go to as close as I can get to his definition out of one of his books. There is a series of missing people. Oh, sorry. Let me read it more like Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries. There is a series of missing people inside our national parks. The events were very unusual, and the Park Service were doing everything possible to keep a lid on the publicity. Okay, so we've got unusual stuff. We've got a conspiracy inside the public park system. Cool. This is interesting. Let's go with it and see where he ends up. Paulides talks a lot about the pattern of the missing 411, which, as you might expect, someone has to have gone missing. The victims are often found a distance and or elevation away that defies common sense. Now that's interesting because it's not exactly testable, but we can measure it. What does it mean to defy common sense? And as I went through a lot of his documented cases, there are over 1,400 of them, so I didn't go through all in detail, but the biggest distance I could find was someone was known to be in a particular location, a hiker, and they were found 3 days later. I think it was 14 miles from their last known location.
Yeah, so this is a problem. David Paulides' so-called evidence is ridiculous if you pick it apart. In his book, he will suggest that something paranormal had to happen because the victim who went missing was found 3 days after they vanished, 14 miles away. I could cover 14 miles in 3 days. So could any healthy male or female, or even a child could cover that distance. That's not evidence of something paranormal or mysterious.
So I'm a hiker, not like a hardcore one, but
he's a hiker too.
I can travel 14 miles in 3 days. Now, of course, that does depend on the terrain and the elevation. So there could be something to this, but I was unable to substantiate it looking at his claims and cases. Although there were some where it's yeah, it is weird that a child traveled 5 miles. That's also not implausible. But this is one of the hallmarks of the missing 411 cases. Also, Paulides, a former police officer, was very concerned with the fact that canines couldn't pick up the scent of these people. I actually don't know how to test this. I don't know enough about dog training, that sort of thing, but interesting.
Yeah, and this is interesting as well. His other big evidence, David Paulides, for these disappearances being something mysterious is that canines can't pick up the scent. And if you read his books, it seems like every case he talks about, canines couldn't pick up the scent, or many of the cases he talks about. And this is problematic because in many cases of missing people, the dog can pick up a scent. And in some cases, the dog can't. And there are reasons that dogs lose scent. You could get wet, your feet could get wet, whatever, they lose the trail. That doesn't automatically mean that it's Bigfoot, aliens, or something mysterious causing these. It's the jump. right? It's just like UFO people who jump right to space aliens when it's something like, oh, I don't know, spotlights from a Christmas display, right? It's the same kind of lack of actual research, lack of actual investigation work to just determine, well, dogs couldn't pick up the scent, so it's got to be something paranormal. I disagree strongly with that. But I'm no expert on tracking dogs, but we're going to be talking to someone who is, who may be able to shed some light on this with us in a future episode.
Some victims' clothing were found removed, typically pants and or shoes, boots. Why are they removed? It's mysterious. And there's also a theme that Paulides kind of lays in here that this wouldn't happen. He's always saying no person would do this. No one would remove their boots in the cold. And of course, no rational person acting, well would seemingly want to do that, but we don't necessarily know what that person was thinking. And lastly, in the case of children, a child's scream is often heard before their disappearance. But that's optional. You can be a child and disappear and still be a missing 411 case. So it's proof if it's there and it's not proof against if it's missing. So I'm still a little confused. What the heck is missing 411, right? As best I can tell, it breaks down to the fact that people are just going missing mysteriously from wilderness areas. He talks a lot about national parks, but the cases cover generally wilderness areas. So let's think about that one for a second. I think it would be hard to disappear from the middle of Times Square. Certainly you could be abducted, something like that, by a human, not by an alien, but someone could kidnap you in Times Square. But
yes, so just as I stated earlier, statistically, people are more likely to vanish or, go missing from a wilderness area than they are from an urban, very populated area. It's just the way things are. You're walking around in the woods, you lose your sense of direction. Something happens, you injure yourself. I know somebody that they had to spend a few days in a wilderness area waiting to be rescued because they fell down a hill and broke their leg. And they waited there for 2-3 days until a search party located them. Accidents happen. There's all kinds of reasons why more people would be vanishing or disappearing or go missing from a wilderness area. And I don't know, I just came away, I only read 2 of his 4 books because I didn't want to waste any more time on this. I think that he is trying to push a square peg through a round hole here in order to sell a story.
It seems unlikely that in a dense urban area you would disappear. A wilderness area seems like the place one might disappear from. I also was interested in, what are the statistics of this? Because people do disappear. That's an unfortunate reality in our world, not very often, but it happens. So in order for this to be mysterious, they have to disappear at some rate greater than what we would expect. Surely there are people who want to disappear. Perhaps the law is after them or debtors or something like that. And wouldn't a national park maybe be a great place to start your disappearing act? Because we just visited Yellowstone or Yosemite a couple of months ago, and no cameras, lots of empty spaces. You could supposedly be camping there all the while making your way to Mexico. So this is also one plausible explanation for some disappearances.
Good point, 5x5.
Some of these people are never found. And this is actually the most interesting part I found. There are people who qualify as missing 411 cases that are not actually missing. They have been found. But many they're just missing for a while. Many are,
Are these all people who registered at the park that they were going into the park and then didn't, sign out,
So some yes, some no. I mean, there are cases, and one we'll talk about where someone went to their local park to just do a jog, where I presume they don't need to check in or anything. But it's not a criteria he focuses too much on.
Yeah, it could be caves as well, Liz G. Good point.
A very plausible theory, yeah, that does happen, I'm sure, from time to time. So there are a lot of natural explanations here, and some of it would have to be, how do we separate out the cases that might be natural explanations from those that somehow are mysterious?
Why, if it's a missing person, why is it called 411?
That is a great question that Paulides never addresses. At least not in any of the 20 hours I listened to his interviews or the books that I read. I was expecting it to be like there were 411 special cases. No, I guess it's missing info, but that's sort of, I'm not really clear on that point. This is an interesting claim about people disappearing far away, but it's also optional, so I'm going to not spend too much time with it. The only real conspiracy here is that the National Park Service is hiding something. And Paulides is sure that it's at the top echelons, that the day-to-day workers are good people and he likes them. It's the administration that are trying to fight against his FOIAs and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and there's little to no evidence that there's some grand conspiracy to withhold information or cover up people that go missing.
And what else? I'm not really, that's about it. That's what missing 411 is. There are mysterious cases, but it also is like a template for a conspiracy. You can inject whatever you like. If you're a Bigfoot person, it's big transdimensional Bigfoot grabbing. If you're a UFO person, it's abductions. It's like he created the USB port of conspiracy theories. Just plug in whatever you have, and missing 411 fits in for you.
Well, and hikers hike, you know, so that's.
Yeah, and by the way, I believe that he is correct in his analysis here, because you hear a lot of Bigfoot people saying, oh yeah, that missing 411, that's got to be Bigfoot abducting those people. That's what Bigfoot people say. What do UFO and alien fans say? It's aliens. That's why the dogs can't pick up the scent, because the spaceships come down and grab the people or beam them up, right? Or somehow. And the dog loses the scent because they just literally vanish. So there's no scent trail for where they walked to or whatever, right? Great.
Very
Where
true.
you found, you know, a distance from where.
Yeah,
You know, intrinsic.
very true. Some amount of hikers are going to go missing. We should assume this as an unfortunate reality. It's if there are above and beyond or unusual circumstances that could be interesting to look at.
By the way, just a public service announcement from someone who is an outdoorsman and a hiker, an avid hiker. I recently had a problem myself in the woods because I was hiking in a state forest game lands. Those are public lands set aside for public hunting, you know, sort of a nature preserve. And it was very thick brush, very thick woods, no trails for some great portion of it that I had to get cut through to. Anyway, you can't depend on your phone and a phone GPS. If you're in the woods, please listen to me. If you're going somewhere through wilderness area for whatever reason, whether it's just hiking or camping, please have a very good compass. In fact, have two. I have two. I have a handheld compass and I have a backup compass, which is on, I think, the end of a camping knife, right? Because when I was going through this wilderness area, the brush got so thick that my phone GPS completely and totally stopped working. And I totally lost my sense of direction. And that's not like me, to be honest with you. I'm usually pretty good with these things. And my sense of direction is pretty good. I got totally lost in the woods for a very short period, 10 or 20 minutes. And I was walking around thinking that the GPS on my phone will come back at some point, just get out of this thick area with all the overgrown trees and, you know, the GPS will come back on. It didn't. I needed the compass. I needed the compass in order to know my direction and which direction I was heading in. So please, friends, if you're going to be in a wilderness area for any reason, don't just depend on your phone. We all love these modern electronic conveniences, but you need something that's going to work no matter what. Compass will work no matter what. You know, it works with the Earth's magnetic field. It always works. And have not one, but two, just in case you could fall and drop one, break one, whatever. You don't want to be in a wilderness area without the proper preparations. That could be why some of these people get lost. It's very easy in the woods to get lost in a forest. Everything starts looking the same, and you think that you're you don't know it, but you're walking in circles, or you're going in the completely wrong direction from where you think you're going to find. Like, for example, I was trying to find a road, and I knew the road was on the edge of the forest, and I thought I was going the right direction to go to the edge of the forest. I was actually going deeper into the forest for that 10 or 20 minutes. And had I not had a compass, I could have had a real problem there. Really, really important to make sure that you're well prepared if you're going to be in a wilderness area for any reason.
So, have you ever heard of these comparisons people do between Lincoln and Kennedy? I've never understood what exactly was the conspiracy here. Are we saying that one, reincarnated into the other or something? I'm not clear on what the point of that is. And that is the same flavor of Missing 411. There's a lot of just like, hey, look at these things. So I'd like to coin a phrase if I can. I call this pseudo-woo, and here's my definition of pseudo-woo.
This is very good. Pseudo-woo.
Statements or ideas which avoid direct claims, but live in the milieu of conspiracy theories and set up an implication or a template from which one might infer paranormal, mysterious, extraterrestrial conspiracy, or otherwise nefarious underpinnings. So if you wanted to create one, as I think perhaps Paulides has done purposefully or inadvertently, here's some tips for how you might do it. Make non-specific claims or no claims at all. Involve real-world places, events, and organizations. My favorite is involve verifiable but irrelevant facts.
Yeah, this is something all these UFO clowns do as well. It's part of the David Wilcock does his super duper proven maneuver, where he'll give you a real verifiable fact, but it's completely irrelevant to the story. And then he piles his bullshit on top of it.
And, do what Chris Carter did on the X-Files. Don't show us. Let our imaginations fill in the blanks. These seem to be successful ways to create your own sort of pseudo-woo conspiracy. So I've made a little bit of background on Paulides. He is a Bigfoot researcher. Even though he has adamantly said that he's not claiming that Missing 411 relates to Bigfoot at all. It might, but he doesn't say that it does.
Yeah, he dances around saying that it's Bigfoot. Yet, because he does Bigfoot books as well as these Missing 411 books, I can't tell you how many Bigfoot people have told me that it's Bigfoot taking, kidnapping all these people.
He created North American Bigfoot Search. This is his book, Tribal Bigfoot. I haven't read this one, but it looks cool. And he's appeared on Coast to Coast and tons of the other shows. In fact, they seem to be his primary outlet for sharing this message, not news, mainstream news media. He really has gone the paranormal route with this. And while all that's interesting and raises some doubts, I do feel the need to point out that all of these are straw man arguments. There's no reason he couldn't be correct and onto something while also believing in nonsense. We've seen a lot of famous scientists even believe in truthful good science, something that was non-scientific. So,
like Dr. Gary Nolan.
I also thought, as much as some of this seems silly and sensationalism, it is plausible that Paulides, somewhere in those 1,400 cases, could have stumbled onto something. Maybe an underfunded police or parks department has not had the resources to identify that there's a serial killer at work.
Well, there have been serial killers.
Sure, and that is a plausible thing, and perhaps this man's work could help uncover that in some way. So I wanted to treat this with some seriousness, and I said, this is time I should do my own skeptical investigation of what I can with this topic. So
yeah, that's one of the other theories that have been floated, that these people are all missing because there's a apex level predator serial killer. But Paulides gathers together cases from all over the United States, and by and large, serial killers are regional. They kill near where they live. They're not crisscrossing the entire country killing people. Now, some, of course, have, or they've traveled to other areas like Ted Bundy, multiple states he murdered people in. But to suggest it's a serial killer, especially a single serial killer, is a bit of a stretch for me, because these are cases from every state in the country.
It started out where I think everyone should start out a good skeptical investigation with Hyman's imperative. Let's first establish is something actually there before we go researching it. So I got one of the resources that was really helpful to me. I didn't know about this before. This is where I got most of the data I looked at. The National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. This is a database. It's not easy to get access to all of it, but you can search by name and some details. They're tracking about 24,000 cases, 12,000 open cases of missing people in the U.S. And so a little under about 0.5% of those qualify as missing 411 cases, according to the forthcoming movie trailer for the Missing 411.
Yeah, and by the way, just to be clear, Missing 411 has become big business for Mr. David Paulides. because he's not only selling his books, but there's he got a big TV show deal for a sort of a docu-series about this. And I'm sorry, but did you hear that statistic? Less than 1% of all of the missing people, less than a half of 1% of all the missing people go missing in the national forest systems or are included in David Paulides' so-called data. So I have a real problem with all of this. But the bigger problem that I have is a woman, Linda Moulton Howe, who has just been caught selling fake alien pictures and provably 100% fake alien stories based on those fake alien pictures, not once but twice, is now going to platform this man and re-victimize the family and friends and loved ones of these missing people and suggest that somehow these mysterious disappearances, which, by the way, many would argue is not mysterious at all. Have you been to some of the national parks? It's difficult for me to say because, I mean, I in my younger years hiked 100 miles of the Appalachian Trail, 100 miles of wilderness, and that's not the whole thing. There's more. There's lots more. There's a couple 100 miles more probably of the Appalachian Trail. I don't remember how long the entire trail is, but it goes all the way up the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, right? Hundreds and hundreds of miles of wilderness. People going into hundreds and hundreds of miles of wilderness, a percentage of those people that go in are coming out. That's unfortunate, but that is the reality. And that's why, again, I caution you, if you're going into a wilderness area for any reason, right? For any reason, make sure that you are full and well prepared, not just with a phone or a mobile GPS system, but with backup, a compass, a map, a plan, right? And a good backpack full of supplies just in case, right? I can't lie. That recent thing that happened to me was a bit of a scare because it had been a long time since I had been in a situation where I worried. And I did for a moment worry. I said to myself, like, this isn't good. Like, I think I know, I thought I was going in the right direction. And then I was sort of sure that I wasn't going in the right direction. So pull out the compass, get my bearings. I sat, got my bearings, calmed down. And then I realized what my error was. And I was able to turn myself around, get my sense of direction. And in a short time, probably 30 or 40 minutes from that, oh shit moment, like I'm lost in the woods. And I mean, it's woods for miles and miles. So I was a little worried. But within 30 to 40 minutes of getting the compass out, getting my bearings, I found the road that I was looking for, which was not much of a road, more like a dirt road. But still, I got out of the forest. And a short distance from that dirt road was a paved road, a main road. So I was out of danger. But really, please, I can't caution you strongly enough. If you're going into a wilderness area, learn how to read a compass and have two of them with you just in case. You'll be glad. Having a compass with you is one of those things that you don't think about until you need it. It's kind of like how people get a burglary, get an alarm system on their house after their house gets broken into. You need a compass if you're going into a wilderness area, and maps of the area are helpful too. Be sure that you're prepared, because as evidenced by all of the people disappearing in national parks or going missing, it's dangerous to be in the forest, especially by yourself. And yes, electromagnetic frequency saying it can happen to anyone, Steve. Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a really good outdoorsman, so I was kind of in denial, walking around going, I'm not lost, I'm going in the right direction. And then I suddenly realized, I'm like, I can't be going in the right direction. Got my bearings, got myself turned around. So we're going to share Miss Linda Moulton Howe's video talking about this. 1 second. And this is a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the video that we are sharing. the last video, I want to thank Kyle Pollack for his excellent analysis of David Paulides' claims. It is very, very important that we have people who can look into these things skeptically and not go right to aliens and Bigfoot is causing this, right? Oh, let's do it one more time. Make sure we got the audio. So this is Linda Moulton Howe's December 14th broadcast. And again, she's giving, right off the bat, she's giving statistics here that don't have, this is how many missing persons and unidentified bodies there are. But this is not all missing 411, so-called missing 411 cases. So cherry pick the data, dramatize things up. Let's get into it.
Current 2022 statistics say that more than 20,000 missing person cases and 14,000 unidentified body cases are currently open, according to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database, funded by the U.S. Department of Justice. This week, on December 12th, former police officer David Paulides, famous for his 411 information podcast, films, and books about missing people, has released an outstanding new 90-minute video, Missing 411, the UFO Connection, which David produced and directed.
Yeah, so let's be clear. I don't want to put all the blame on Linda Moulton Howe for connecting aliens to these missing persons. It's David Paulides as well. I think that the missing 411 money was drying up, so he needs something new to tack on to the story. And by the way, to the best of my knowledge, he never brought up even the possibility that this was aliens in his first 4 books. But suddenly the money dries up. People are getting bored with the same old stories from David Paulides. And of course, UFOs are popular and you can make a lot of money off a UFO documentary. So let's just glue these two things together. And Linda Moulton Howe is right here to help him sell this fairy tale.
I urge all of you, after this Earth Files YouTube channel broadcast, to visit the link that's on the screen now to get to David's website store, where you can purchase his past work and his excellent and important new video that grabs your mind and doesn't let go, like this excerpt from the trailer.
For thousands of years, the human species has looked to the skies in amazement at unidentified objects. We are staring at unconventional possibilities supported by witnesses, video, and most recently, our own government. I have investigated hundreds of cases that push the limits of standard everyday police protocol.
The 3 witnesses saw this object picking up the elk.
There was no cable, nothing discernible holding the elk to the crowd.
I know what happened to me. It happened in 1974. Next thing I know, I was in this cubicle.
In many stories, children.
By the way, in many of these cases that he details in this documentary, they were not abducted from national parks. So is David Paulides making connections where there are no connections? Shouldn't all of the people that are telling UFO abduction stories have been abducted from national parks in order to connect it with his 411 series? No, he doesn't have to do that, apparently. Great.
They're right there. And then the next second, they're gone. After reading thousands of reports, I started to document what is called profile points. The number 1 profile point is lack of scent trail.
It was unusual that they had that many tracking dogs. I never found a track.
Yeah, unusual, but not instantly paranormal or mysterious.
The more you hear, the stranger the story gets. Why send a SWAT team on a missing person case?
When I saw that, that's when I, went down on my knees.
They are connected to extra dimensional beings.
Everybody's favorite fake Fox Mulder is here to help him sell the documentary, right? Do you see? We've said this before. These UFO clowns all reinforce each other's bullshit.
Those are real. How do you explain to a grieving family that something paranormal may be tied to the disappearance?
David sent me his new film 2 weeks ago, and when it faded to black, I started clapping to the screen. It is so good.
And by the way, I could do a separate review of that, but largely what I can tell you is that in this documentary, David Paulides has people who claim to be abducted by aliens tell their story. And then he somehow just tells other stories of people who just vanished from national parks or wilderness areas in order to somehow connect the dots. And I don't believe those dots connect. It's two separate events. It's two separate things. But in order to package it with his other work, I believe, he's jamming them together. And did you see that? Let's solve the mystery. So he's implying that he's solving the mystery of all these missing persons cases in the national parks by involving aliens. And who's right there to help him sell it? John D'Souza. And by the way, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. John D'Souza, I would love for him to come here and prove to me that he ever investigated anything, let alone anything paranormal, while he worked for the FBI. And here's why. John D'Souza was a lawyer for the FBI, which means most likely John D'Souza was working on things like warrants for the FBI. I highly doubt that he was a field investigator at all, let alone, the FBI's Fox Mulder, as he seems to like to try to imply in order to, get more bookings talking about aliens and mysterious things. Sorry, not a fan of John D'Souza, though I would welcome an interview so that we can drill down on some of his past and previous claims.
I called him to see if we could do an audio interview for all of you to broadcast right after his December 12th first releases on Vimeo, Amazon, and Blu-ray. And so tonight is the night, and David said, okay. And I now want to share with you some of our discussion after I saw his excellent film.
Yeah, does anybody ever remember one UFO person who has a guest on that just released a documentary that doesn't say, oh, what incredible work? Remember when people like goof on, no surprise there, but when Third Phase of Moon released their latest shit show money grab documentary featuring Dr. Stephen Greer, telling ridiculous stories like he went on secret missions with Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top to secret underground bases where they saw alien technology, right? All the UFO people that reviewed it gave it great reviews, except me, because we pointed out all of the ridiculousness of that. So it's always funny to me when these people, they're having a guest and their documentary is excellent. Linda Moulton Howe saw this documentary. Did it not jump out at her that in the documentary, they tell stories of people telling their stories of alien abductions. And then they tell stories of like children vanishing from a forest where there's no evidence of aliens. Nobody saw aliens or spaceships or even UFOs in the area or whatever. And they're somehow connecting those two together and talking about we're going to solve the missing 411 mystery. It's very deceptive. But Linda Moulton Howe, either she caught that like most intelligent people would and is ignoring that because, hey, here's a guest we can make some money from, right? And again, I'd love to know how the victims of all of those missing 411 case people, how do the families of the victims whose cases he's using to sell his books feel about this? I mean, how do they feel about him suddenly bringing in aliens to solve the mystery?
The number one thing I found was about 97% of the incidents where the people weren't found, canines brought to the scene couldn't pick up a scent.
Yeah, and that could have something to do with the fact that they weren't found. If the canine picks up the scent, they follow the scent trail and then they find the person, or unfortunately, in some cases, they find the body of the missing person.
I cannot ever remember.
For any.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I forgot to make a separate copy of this without the commercials. Yeah, let me do that again. No, of course it's monetized, right? Let me make sure that we got it here. Here we go. There we go.
Didn't find the people we're searching for. So in these incidents where dogs go out and they can't pick up the scent, sometimes they walk down the trail and they come back and they walk in circles. So that was the number one profile point. Another profile point, soon after the person disappeared, or just about the time the search was starting, there was a weather event that inhibited the searchers. Another profile point that was very unusual is that oftentimes, if the person was found, they were found in an area that was previously searched. Searchers walked out a trail every day into a search zone. They find this body of the victim laying across the trail.
Well, that is interesting. But also interesting is that statistically, people who go missing near or around bodies of water. And that might have something to do with the dog scent trail issue, because to the best of my knowledge, if you, for example, cross a creek, let's say there's a 2 or 3 foot wide, well, 4 or 5 foot wide creek, a shallow creek, and you are being tracked by scent by dogs. If you cross a creek, the dogs may or will lose your scent trail. The simple act of crossing over water can be enough for the dogs to lose the scent trail. And this could extend to other things. What if you're just walking in muddy puddles? Can the dogs lose the scent trail through that? I believe they could, and it is like I said, this is just cherry picking the data to support an already drawn mysterious or paranormal conclusion is what I have a problem with.
And when canines and trackers can't find a scent trail or tracks, and they're working grid patterns, and suddenly a body shows up in an area that had been covered numerous times, that's odd. And
I don't believe that's odd because, people miss things, especially in the thick, dense forest. But, that's a little point. It is somewhat mysterious, I suppose, if they think they searched an area and then a couple of days later they find the body in the area. But there's many more factors here, like what was the time of death? For example, what if they searched an entire area, say near a creek bed, where someone went missing, and they found nothing? And then 2 days later, they found a dead body. 2 days after they searched that original area, they found a body. But the person had died a day ago. Couldn't it be that they were wandering in the woods somewhere else while that area was being searched, and then they wandered back in to the search area and then died there? There's so many possibilities here that this person ignores in order to sell his story. And these are the data points and facts that he does not present in order to cherry pick the data to sell the narrative.
missing shoes is another thing. And a lot of times the people are found and they don't have shoes on, and their shoes are never found by searchers. And all of these that include missing clothing, weather, no scent trail, another huge point. I call it point of separation.
Yeah, and here's another issue. He's saying that there's something mysterious here because the weather changed when somebody went missing. And I mean, I don't know how what kind of an outdoorsman he is, but if you're in a big national park, especially up in the mountains, the weather can change, pretty quickly. Storm fronts can blow in. I don't see that as evidence of anything, right? Well, let's look at the statistics or something, or let's look at the the historical weather data to see if this weather change is something out of the ordinary.
Maybe one person starts to feel ill and goes back to the car. Something happens when they're alone. Very rarely does anything ever happen to a pair. It's always alone. All of the facts that we started to pick up along the way led us to where we ended up. And you know, you made a great movie about animal mutilations. The evidence just will take you down this road.
Right.
It will eventually reveal itself to you. And that's the way it happened here.
Yeah, and I would agree to disagree. I think that some of these people, like, they've already drawn their conclusions, right? Like Linda was sure that those cattle were being mutilated by aliens. And then again, she cherry picks the data to fit her already drawn conclusion. These people aren't following the evidence. They're cherry picking the evidence to support their already drawn conclusions. That's my opinion, having observed both of them.
When we started off with an elk disappearing and being witnessed by a group of workers planting trees, and you see a UFO come over and pull the elk and take it away.
And that there was no physical connection seen between the small craft and the elk below it, as if there was some sort of control over gravity between the elk and the craft.
No, I'll give them that. That one is strange and mysterious. But what does that have to do with the missing people? Do you see how they're just connecting disconnected data points in order to sell the narrative? I mean, that's certainly a mysterious story, and I would love to talk to the people who witnessed that and see how credible they are and how credible that story is. But what connection does an event like that have to people mysteriously disappearing in national parks? And by the way, to the best of my knowledge and recollection, that event did not happen in a national park. So what does that have to do with missing 411? How are you solving the mystery of 411 by using some completely unrelated event that has to do with a UFO and an elk being abducted?
No. The workers said that when the craft went over the elk, it's as though the elk froze in place, just froze. And then later on in the movie, when we talked to one of the victims, he described that as he lined up on a series of elk, they were frozen and didn't move. Subsequently, when he gets on a ship, he sees the same elk on a ship frozen in time.
Oh, sorry, friends. Next time I'll grab the video. Well, this will show you, though, how many commercials does Linda Moulton Howe jam into her shows? Because, you know, I know there's a front roll and a back roll and a mid roll, but we're already 2 commercials in, and we missed the front roll because we started it at 10 minutes. So Linda Moulton Howe is jamming all kinds of extra. Just a public service announcement for you people that watch Linda Moulton Howe. She doesn't have to jam all these commercials in to her shows, but she does so that she can make maximum money with her stupid fake stories. Hold on. There we go.
Connections walked us down this path. Another profile point is that people disappear and are later found in and around water.
Right.
And it's something that you just can't get away from. I mean, they're found on the edge of a slough or a swamp. Or I wrote a whole book called Missing.
Yeah, and this is another point. Just like I said, could that have something to do with the fact that the dogs lose the scent trail? Again, if you walk through water, the dogs will lose your scent trail at the point that you entered the water. So, and also, if you're lost in the woods for many hours or let's say days, you're going to want to hang around near a water source so that you don't die of thirst. You ever spend 3 hours on a hiking trail with an empty canteen and nothing to drink? Again, this man jumped straight to some mysterious or paranormal explanation for events when there are very ordinary explanations, in my opinion, for why people are found. Maybe they starved to death, or die of exposure from the elements near bodies of water, but they were staying near a body of water so that they would at least have something to drink while they waited for rescue.
411, a sobering coincidence where it was all young men who all disappeared, and they were all later found in a body of water, and there was no way to connect where they were last seen and how they got into that water.
Yeah, and that's another issue. Sometimes if you're lost in the woods, you may think, I have to cross this lake, this stream, this creek, whatever, in order to get to a road or something, and you may fall or not be able to swim or be swept away by currents, and that would explain why many missing people in wilderness areas are found in bodies of water. Just to jump right to aliens or Bigfoot or something paranormal here is a big, big, big stretch.
Something in this world trying to thwart us from figuring this out. And as I've told many people, this is our third movie. First movie was called Missing 411. The second one's called Missing 411 The Hunted. And in this one, I can guarantee to you it was 10 times harder than the other two combined. And every obstacle that it could throw at us, trying to keep this from being completed.
Missing people is like one of the Pointillism points. Animal mutilations, all of the things that I've investigated, they are more points. And I think we're all beginning to see the bigger pattern and the implication we're not alone on this planet. There are many things that are coming and going, and that what you have been investigating, what I have been investigating, the common denominator answer to it all of the presence of other intelligences. People have also seen humans as if they were paralyzed on a craft, and the animals that he saw.
So there's Linda Moulton Howe connecting animal mutilations, cattle mutilations, and these missing people. And it must be aliens. It must be other intelligences responsible for all of this. This is the problem that I have with this woman. What evidence is there to connect cattle mutilations and missing people? What evidence is there that this is done by aliens? Besides for, I'm sure she has some sources that believe that. But this is a big stretch. And here, with no evidence whatsoever, Linda Moulton Howe asserts that cattle mutilations and these missing people have a common denominator. It must be aliens, right? Because there's no story to sell here unless it is aliens, of course.
It was almost as if it was a demonstration. Yes, we're taking elk. You hunt elk. We hunt elk as well. But instead of that being a human dialogue, it's coming from another intelligence.
There's a lot of evidence that shows that those animals have been dropped.
Yes.
Well, over the years that I've been doing missing persons research, I've made many statements that it makes no sense how these victims sometimes get into locations where it almost appears like they were dropped or they fell into these locations in ways that are unexplainable.
Right. Like the Carl Higdon case in October 1974.
Yeah, again, just because you can't explain it does not mean that it was aliens. Just because you cannot explain how these people ended up in the areas that their bodies were located in doesn't mean that aliens dropped them there. This is why I have a problem with this, because they just make the big leap. They don't have evidence to support the big leap. And suddenly, and of course, there's money involved here. Let's never forget that there's money involved here. There's always some money involved that I think helps them make that big leap, right? Would they make that big leap if there was not money involved? By the way, we try to call out everybody who becomes a YouTube member. Thank you, Chet, who just became a YouTube channel member. Thanks very much for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. I appreciate it, Chet, and I'm so happy to see so many people will pay me a couple of bucks to tell them the truth Meanwhile, these two clowns over here are making tens of thousands of dollars for, I don't want to say lying. Let's just say stretching the truth, Chad. Thank you for supporting good work here. Very generous. Thanks to all of you people supporting the stuff here. Yes, DJ G's, it's D's. It's not just a leap of faith; it's a leap of cash. There's a leap of cash, and we need the cash in order for us to make that leap.
South of Rawlins, Wyoming.
And in the interview with Carl, he explained that when they got rid of him, they dropped him on a hillside and he rolled down and hurt his shoulder.
I agree.
And that was probably the biggest aha moment for me in that film.
What does that say
Could be
about
tall
the
starlight. Could be.
intention, the intelligence of what is interacting with this planet? That if the human doesn't match what they need, they just drop them. If the cow doesn't match what they need, they just drop them. It's so peculiar because nothing needs to be dropped.
No. And that's something.
Those damn aliens, if the cow doesn't have the right chromosomes or whatever the aliens are looking for, they just drop that poor cow. Again, how does she know what they need? Like, this is so stupid.
That we've thought about a lot over the years. And if you take in the UFO angle, it shows either a distinct lack of respect and dignity for us, or there's something else we don't understand about why in these certain conditions this drop occurs.
Right. How much is being hidden, David, in so many directions?
Since you're in this world all the time, what about this movie surprised you?
The blatant implication of censorship before even learning information.
I think that if we follow the last 50 years and what our government hasn't told us, that the revelations are going to come from people like you and me and some other researchers out there that dig real hard and dig real deep and are willing to challenge themselves, because I don't expect our government to do anything.
How can governments continue a perpetual lie of an entire planet of 8 billion people?
Just follow the path they've been on for the last 50, 60 years. I think they have a complete disrespect and lack of respect for the general public, and they kind of do whatever they want to do.
It seems that maybe humanity could be made stronger and come closer together as a species if they knew the truth that we're not alone and that other intelligences use and harvest from our planet. Wouldn't that make possibly humans look at each other slightly differently and maybe not want to kill each other?
There's always been that theory that, well, what if 3 or 4 classic UFOs landed on the front lawn of the White House and then landed in Buckingham Palace and landed on some of the world's biggest locations simultaneously? Wouldn't that make all of our problems in humanity stop and make us look at ourselves and
this is the Ronald Reagan argument.
Say, hey, really, what are we doing here? And who are our friends?
Right.
Shouldn't we be focusing on something a little more important?
Can you now let my Earth Files YouTube channel audience and everyone know exactly how to get your brilliant new film, Missing 411, The UFO Connection?
So the easiest way, if you want to watch it online, you can go to Vimeo, you can go to Amazon. Those are the 2 easiest ways. If you want to buy a DVD or Blu-ray, you can go to our website, and our website store is called NA, like North America, NABigfootSearch.com. Go to the store. Those are the best ways to watch it online, Blu-ray, or DVD.
Great.
Look who came and jumped up while David and I
out.
were talking about his great film. And I wanted to share with you that this morning I got a text from David Paulides who said, quote, Missing 411, The UFO Connection, went to #1 in iTunes documentary yesterday, December 13th. And he just released the film on the 12th.
Great.
So I am so glad to hear that. And I really do
Yeah.
hope that all of
She's
you,
glad. That means her grifts
in
are gonna
whatever
work good,
way
too.
that you want to download it, that you see this really important work by David Paulides. And I also wanted to add that I knew Dr. Leo Sprinkle.
All right. She's going to talk about other nonsense. We have covered the relevant portions. And what I can say is that David Paulides does not prove at all that his previous, all of the missing 411 cases are relating to aliens. What he does in this documentary is show you new cases where people claim they were abducted by aliens that may or may not have taken place in a national park, and somehow he connects it to all of his previous work, implying that he's going to solve the mystery of all these missing cases in the national parks by talking to people that were abducted by aliens. It's a big stretch. It's fitting a round peg into a square hole, right? Or square peg into a round hole. This is a big, big stretch. And David Paulides cannot prove that any of the people that went missing in the national parks were abducted by aliens. In fact, he can't prove anybody was abducted by aliens. He has people who are telling stories, but it's light on proof. Big on story, light on proof, like we usually get. In fairness to David, I will certainly agree to a conversation with him, and I'll be respectful, and he and I can talk over why I'm so skeptical of his claims, why I'm especially, listen, there's something called UFO disease. We've seen it before, right? Someone will come out with a particular story. My two favorite examples of UFO disease are Clifford Stone and Robert Dean, both of which came forward with a very believable story at first. And then after 3, 4, 5 years, people at the UFO conferences tire of their original story. So they have to push the envelope and tell new stories or tack on extra bits to their original story. And the claims get more and more fantastical. For example, Robert Dean was really in the military, and he was really stationed where he said he was. I know because I checked. He worked for NATO, for the United States government. And his original story was that he saw something called the assessment, which was about extraterrestrial visitation on Earth. He claimed that all the NATO members knew that UFOs were extraterrestrial spacecraft and that they were planning to, they had these documents or these briefing papers that would explain all of this, and that they were trying to figure out the mystery of why these extraterrestrials were visiting us. What did they want? Were they hostile? Were they simply scientists observing us? Very believable story from somebody you thought was pretty credible. But then Robert Dean got UFO disease. And after 5 years telling that same story over and over again, being in many different documentaries selling that story, he needed new material. And it gets crazier from there. Because after that, Robert Dean started talking about his past lives as, I don't know, Julius Caesar and 10 other famous people, and his psychic superpowers and all kinds of stuff. Same goes for Clifford Stone. Told a believable story that he was part of some kind of crash retrieval program connected to Project Moondust, which was a real thing. If a spacecraft comes down from the sky, doesn't matter what it is, Russian, Chinese, Indian, whatever it is, the United States would go and grab it. And then they would take it back to the Foreign Technology Division and pick it apart and get secrets of our adversaries. What technology are they using? What materials are they using? But Clifford Stone suggested that they were also retrieving alien spacecraft, including living, breathing, extraterrestrial biological entities. And at one point, I believed him. But then he got UFO disease, and he needed more material. So then Clifford Stone got a whole bunch of superpowers. And then his stories became more and more and more grandiose, including even him rescuing an alien from a containment facility and, you know, opening the door and letting the alien out and helping the alien. And then a spaceship came down and got the alien and took him back home, you know, like phone home E.T. And then Clifford Stone got superpowers and psychic powers, and he was in contact with angels and interdimensional beings, and it goes on and on and on. I think, even though he's not a UFO guy, we are seeing the same situation with David Paulides. Originally, in his first book, he was much more reserved as far as grandiose claims or whatever. Second book, a little more grandiose claims. And again, this whole idea that there's some vast, massive cover-up is stupid, because you can make a FOIA request to any national park and say, how many people went missing last year? And they'll tell you. They have to. But I think that David Paulides took the fact that the national parks don't all intercommunicate between different states as some form of cover-up. Not true. And again, a big leap. Very, very big leap. Underdog 412 with a kind and generous $2 says, great work, Steve. It's a big club and I ain't in it. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated, especially right now. You know, it's Christmas. So, and I have 2 boys, so I'm pretty broke. All right. Well, 1 second here. Let me also, I'm sorry about that, UFO John Doe. If I did not share your super chat on the screen, we always share them at the end of the presentation. I want to thank UFO John Doe, the super chat MVP, who says, don't forget clown shoes for Christopher Sharp, who said the intensity and speed of the lights doesn't conform to conventional technology. Oh, I love it, UFO John Doe. We need clown shoes for Christopher Sharp as well. Oh, well, wait a minute. Let me put that bigger. Yeah, so everybody can see UFO John Doe. He says, again, don't forget clown shoes for Christopher Sharp, who said the intensity of the lights doesn't comport with conventional technology. Well, he definitely needs some clown shoes as well. Definitely needs some clown shoes as well. And I'm trying to go through the live chat. It must have been a ways back. We want to also thank Chet, who became a new member. Thank you very much for your kindness, generosity, and support. And UFO John Doe, I'm scrolling back through all of the live chat. We have so many people here. Welcome everybody tonight. Good to see all of you here. Great crowd tonight in the Peanut Gallery. We have to come up with a better name for that live chat. Any suggestions? Put them in all capital letters. Yeah, it must have been a ways back, UFO John Doe, because I'm having trouble finding it. So I apologize if I did not share your super chat on the screen. Oh, there we go. We got it. So thank you, UFO John Doe, for your kindness, your generosity, and continued support of the show. Big time show supporter, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a short break where I'm going to remind you of a few important things. Thanks to our kind and generous announcer, Ian. We have a couple announcements from him. And I want to remind you of 2 things. First, we're a viewer-supported show, much like PBS. So if you enjoy content like this, please consider throwing a couple of bucks in our hat from the various ways you can support us. Here's Ian to let you know how you can support us.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support.
For the masses. The masses.
They come to me with some of their results, and I basically said these results are shit. So I'm sorry to the people who are so friggin' impatient that they won't get off their butt and go learn this stuff and do it themselves. I'm not your daddy. I'm not here to do things for you. I'm sorry. Get out of your basement and go do something. I've seen some of those snap your fingers reports, and they're garbage. Publish the darn paper. Stop claiming that. This is shoddy work. This can't go anywhere. Who did this? It's crap.
Thanks for being here. This is Truth Seekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truth Seekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers.
And we are back, friends. Any comments or questions for me? We've got a little bit of time for the live chat. Oh, thank you. Lou Reviews. Clown shoes. You need a whole clown car. Thank you very much. And by the way, everybody should check out Lou's new show, Lou Reviews. And by the way, Lou, I don't want you to think that I'm ripping you off, but I am going to be reviewing the original 1984 V series, both the way V worked is that there was first a couple of specials they did with very high budget. And then after those limited series, they did 2 that were very, very high budget. V, the final battle, or just V, and then V, the final battle, and then V, the television shows. And unfortunately, by the time they got to the television series, the budget got cut in half. But it's still a great series. And Lou, you would love V, because so much of UFO land mythology came out of the V science fiction television series. And Lou's doing reviews of things I care about, including, science fiction and things that I love. So, he did a show on this Henry Cavill and the DC shakeup. I hate that, Lou. Why can't they just leave it the same actors? Because I'm just getting used to Henry Cavill as Superman. Now I got to get used to somebody else. And I guess they're losing Ezra, the Flash, because of his legal problems. So they're going to have to reboot all of Justice League. So everybody should check out Lou Reviews. He's doing good over there. Good to see. Clown shoes. You need a whole clown car. Zignal, Sharp, Andy Cahill, Hal. It would be endless stream of ass clowns. And that gives me a great idea because, Lou, I have video of what looks to be an insane amount of clowns getting out of one car. And if I could get that face software to put like faces on them, that would be a great video. So thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And best of luck with your new show and new adventure. I hope you don't think I'm ripping you off when I decide to we're going to review V, because it really does, like, so much of UFO land came out of V, the science fiction series. The fact that the aliens are coming here to eat us, they're stealing our resources, the whole reptilian aliens thing, the whole thing about people in power really being reptilian aliens in disguise as humans. It all came from V, the science fiction series, which I saw when I was a little kid. Growing up, I think that was 1984. So I would have been like, in nursery school or kindergarten. And I was really scared of those aliens, man. Those reptile aliens. I had nightmares and stuff. Yeah. And Amy Collins is here and says, I just remember the scene where one of the aliens ate the mouse from the dumpster. Mousy. Yeah, I enjoyed that. And I'm almost done. I think there's, I can't remember how many television show episodes, but it got worse and worse because it looked like they just kept cutting the budget. And it didn't translate well without the budget. It's like, it's like anything. If you cut the budget in half, then the quality of the show is going to suffer, right? Does anybody know if V can still be viewed? Well, I do know that you can buy. I had to buy the television series, but I think that you might be able to buy it on Amazon. I'm looking right now. The original miniseries. Oh yeah, you can buy both. Oh my God, I got robbed on eBay. Look, I'm going to show you this. I'll show you. The original miniseries is available on Blu-ray for $16, and the season 1, the complete series is $1.99, or no, to buy an episode, so $30. But I got that on eBay, $7.99 to buy the season. There's 2 V series, one of them more recent, which I didn't enjoy quite as much. But you can buy the original miniseries V and the Final Battle. And you can buy the original television series for $30. So it'd be like, there's a little bit of a chunk of change. I got all this stuff on eBay, actually, secondhand, used, pretty cheap. I think the one was $6, one was $9, and the TV series is 4 DVDs. That one was like $22 on eBay. But I so enjoyed that when I was a child, and I wanted to watch it again. So, it was fun, and we'll be doing a talk and a review of that. Not my normal wheelhouse, but I think since it relates so strongly to UFO land, yeah. I was watching it a few weeks ago, free. Well, please share, Mike, where you saw it, unless it's a pirate source, because we're not supposed to encourage that sort of behavior. But everything's available on the bay. But then again, some things aren't, right? I know V. Maybe we'll review it. Thanks for the tip. Well, if you do, I'm coming on as a guest because, Lou, I love that. When I was growing up, man, and if I could I was so happy when they brought it back, but then it got canceled in the middle of it, and they never finished it. And they even brought back some of the original actors to play sort of different characters in the new V. It was very, very. It was like getting your legs cut out from you while you're trying to run a marathon, seeing the new V, because it started off great and they were doing so good with it. And then they just canceled it and they never finished it. So they left you with a cliffhanger, right? And same for the original V series, but at least that had some sort of an ending. So it made sense, right? So any comments or questions for me? Electromagnetic frequency says V was a psyop. Yeah, or maybe it was specifically designed to leak the truth about the alien overlords that are reptilians on Earth, right? Yes, the old one still holds up. It really does. Even though they did not have CGI, it was all done with practical effects. But I am, oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. The original V still holds up. Where was that comment? There, the old one still holds up. I'm a fan of practical effects. If I get to make films my way, I'm not using any CGI. If we need a monster in the movie I'm making, we're building it because I just think it looks better, right? I'm okay with CGI, but I think that the overuse of CGI has kind of killed it for me. You know, it's a great production tool, but you know, like everybody remember the Phantom Menace where they used CGI Yoda in the prequels. I didn't like it as much as I liked the puppet Yoda. The puppet Yoda to me looked more realistic in Empire Strikes Back. I just think if you can do it with practical effects, you should. You shouldn't just go straight to everything CGI, right? Yeah, Artisan Tony's here with the kind and generous $20. It says, Merry Christmas, all truth seekers. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We appreciate your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. And, of course, so does Trixie. So we'll have Trixie thank you and all of you kind and generous benefactors.
This is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, those blue chickens turn.
That's something else, right? Yeah, thank you, Artisan Tony, for your kindness, generosity, and support. Thank all you guys. I'm happy to say, let me warn you men out there. Okay, this is important. If you have not done so already, I highly recommend, if you have not done so already, I highly recommend that you finish your Christmas shopping, right? And us men, most of us have it easy. My poor wife has been on Amazon for 2 months, right? Trying to get the best deals. She's going out. She went out on Black Friday with her sisters, trying to get some deals. And she's got to wrap all kinds of stuff. But us men have it easy. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but I took my son today to go Christmas shopping because every year I take him to buy his brother and his mom and his grandmother a gift. And the line was like so long, and I thought we were going to be there for an hour. But luckily, it moved pretty quickly. But the line was like halfway to the back of the store to get in line to just get checked out. And we only were buying like 4 or 5 things. So, and there was no, guys, go shopping now. Anything that you have to buy, you better go buy right now because it's going to get worse out there. It's terrible. It's terrible right now. I don't know what that's about. Like, I guess people wait to the last minute and then everybody's trying to get their shopping done, right? It is what it is. So, yeah, we did our due diligence today. Oh, look at that. UFO John Doe, I appreciate your kindness. You're forced to have a 3-course meal with one of the 3 for several hours. Who are you taking? Nazi Girl, Linda Moulton Howe, or Anjali? Amazon has cloud shoes between $12 to $20 with wig, nose, and gloves, $20. Happy holidays, brothers, to you and Spooky. Love V and the show theme song. Yeah, that was a great theme song. I forgot about that, UFO John Doe. Who am I having the meal with? I think I would have it with Nazi Girl because I may be able to reach her and tell her some stories. And I have some books for her about the Holocaust. And I'll force her to sit and watch Schindler's List with me and other stuff, right? Or read the Diary of Anne Frank. I could give her that book. I think that girl just doesn't understand the harm she is doing, talking about things like the good Nazis. And therefore, somebody should sit her down and talk to her like a friend and say, do you understand the damage that you're doing to the victims of the Nazis and to yourself by glorifying these things? I think I would choose her, right? Linda Moulton Howe and Anjali. Yeah, it's a tough choice, actually. I think Anjali and I would get along. We would have a nice meal. Linda Moulton Howe probably would be stabbing me in the eyes with a fork the whole way through the meal, though, right? She's not a big fan of mine, I hear. Though it is strange that she posted on her channel one of our shows covering the Nazi girl after she interviewed her. Like, this makes no sense. And then somebody took it down. I think maybe somebody that works for her didn't like her interviewing that girl, so they posted our video on her YouTube channel for a time. I don't know what happened with that, but it's pretty interesting. And by the way, Linda Moulton Howe and many others, and Lou was in our live chat. Lou Elizondo, Lou Angeles, and Linda Moulton Howe are all in the running for Best UFO Meltdown for the Golden Probe Awards. And by the way, there's a video in the description of this video or podcast. You can go see the nominations and find out how to vote. I believe that's going to be December 23rd. I would play the trailer, but somebody put copyrighted music in the trailer, so I can't. But you can go to my Twitter, and I encourage you to follow me on Twitter. It's at Stephen Campion to keep up with all the latest on the show. Somebody sent me a message that the BitChute is behind, and I'm aware of that. Last week, we produced something like 34 hours of content in 1 week, the most we ever had. But we had to do that in order to get the information out in a timely fashion due to legal stuff. The status might change on that stuff. So I'm aware. Something had to give. I didn't have time to be uploading videos, and BitChute requires a certain format. Like, I have to squeeze it down. It won't just take the raw videos from. It's a long story, but I will be updating that starting tonight. We should be up to date on the BitChute shortly. And by the way, I just want to mention, if you're a content creator, I did originally call some of these alt video sites the ghetto of the internet. I did. And, it just seemed to me that everybody that got thrown off of YouTube was there, but nobody else. But things are changing. And it's good to see the change take place because, competition is good for any industry, and YouTube has had a monopoly on content creators for quite some time. And I don't know why, but we just had our biggest number of views on our Rumble channel ever on the Rumble channel. And that was our episode last night. So it's good to see. It's good to see the changes, and it's good to see we're picking up a shit ton of views on some of these alt video platforms, and I'm happy to see it. So our new distribution network is in place. For those unaware, all of our videos will be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and DLive, and then also usually next day uploads to right now Daily Motion, BitChute, and Brighteon. And it's pretty funny that we're on Brighteon because Mike Adams, who owns Brighteon, I think he's a friend of David Wilcock, but he says he has a free speech platform. So we'll be testing that by uploading videos highly critical of David Wilcock and others, and we'll see what kind of free speech platform he really has, right? So the BitChute will be updated, and I appreciate that somebody will let me know. And feel free, if something looks like it's not being done well, you can email me. It just might be time constraints, right? Tom Fuller, he says, you should do another one on David Wilcock and Corey. Good, those dudes deserve all the noise they get. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure we'll be covering the case. On January 24th, there's a discovery hearing, and Corey Good is claiming that all kinds of things. We'll see what happens with the court case. I think it's getting thrown out, or Corey Good is going to finally wise up and drop or settle the case because it's not good for him. It's not good for his business. It's just negative publicity. I'm working on the most evil digital clip that was ever created. Okay, Bob Perkins, good for you. Yeah. I be around good people, though, for the first time in a long time, and my health is the most important thing to me. Good for you, broken heart at 420. And I hope you're not so broken hearted then, right? Good to see you here. Good to see all of you here. And I have to say, we've had incredible numbers lately. I'm happy to see the change, and we needed a little boost. You know, to be very honest with you, before last week, I was getting discouraged because we would sometimes work so hard on a show, and then we have trouble breaking 1,000 views, and that's discouraging. But I mean, I get it. It's, you know, there's going to be peaks and valleys, but unfortunately, we were in a valley for a while. Now it seems like we're at the peak for a while. I'm fine with there being valleys again, right? Broken Hearted 420 says, I will get there. Thank you, Stephen. No, thank you, and I hope you do. The best thing to do for a broken heart is to spend time with yourself and pursue old or new hobbies you've always wanted to do, and work on yourself and learn to be happy without a significant other. That's so important. I was just talking to a friend who said that they were not looking for love and they were just working on themselves, right? They were not looking for love at all, just working on themselves and working on being super happy solo. And as soon as they reached that super happy solo, they found a great partner. I think that's the way the universe works. You know, if you're happy, you're going to attract the good one. If you're miserable and desperate and lonely, you're not going to attract the good one, right? Bob Birkin says, I'm from Quebec, and we both try making sense. You're doing a terrible job of it because I don't know, Bob Birkins, he just posts this plumber and a toilet, a simple, regular job. Like, what does that even mean, Bob Birkins, right? There's a palatable groundswell out there for the wacky world of Ariel, Uriel, Michael, and Lucci. You might be right? Super Kick City says, wow, $50, awesome. Everybody's awesome that's throwing a couple of bucks in our hat tonight. And we thank all of you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. And we're going to wrap things up here because that's all we got for you for tonight. I've got some administrative work to do for the show, including updating BitChute, and we're going to start. And I've got some stuff to do with the audio podcast as well. But we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. We want to thank all of our kind and generous benefactors, all you Patreon supporters, all you channel members, super chatters. One final thing, let me just check in with the PayPal. And we are stopping the Cash App for now until I figure out whatever the issue is with it. Please just use the super chats or use Carolyn Barnett, again, with a kind and generous $20 PayPal pledge, says clown shoes for everyone. I agree. There should be clown shoes for everyone. And thank you, Carolyn, Sweet Caroline. I'm sorry about that. Sweet Caroline, for your kindness, generosity, and continued support of the show. And then Nicholas with the kind and generous. Let me look at that one. 1 second. Kind and generous $2 pledge. Thank you, Nicholas, for your kindness, generosity, and support. So we thank all of you. We thank the chat room moderators. We thank Kari for the excellent graphics. And we thank all of you for being here. No place I would rather be. But I've got some other things to do for the show tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got a great show scheduled for tomorrow. I'm gathering some more source material tonight. So I encourage you to please be here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is our usual show time. And we'll be bringing you another adventure into the crazy land of Conspiracy Land. So that's all we got for you, friends. And I will definitely, I'm not sure about the schedule going after tomorrow because we're getting into Christmas time. I'm not sure if there'll be a show on the 24th or the 25th, but there usually isn't a show on weekends, so we'll probably do a show tomorrow. And also a show on Friday, and then we'll take a break for the holidays. I want to wish all of you the best holiday ever, whatever it is that you celebrate. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a great time with friends and family, surrounded by loved ones, and I'm going to be doing that, and I hope you will too. So that's all we got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
This is Trixie reporting for Truthseekers UFO Desk, where we give you absolutely no gimmicks whatsoever, just the truth. And tonight, I can exclusively reveal that a UFO has been spotted above Connecticut. It is a tic-tac shaped UFO, and it is so hot. I really hope you guys can get out your incredibly telescopes and point them in the direction of Connecticut, because you are going to see something so incredible. Back to you, Stephen.
Phase of moon, you can see them in the sky. Third phase of moon, you know these two guys. Third phase of moon, meet two guys who take no crap from nobody. Now, are you sure you're telling us the truth? Because we'll have to send Goof on. We don't mess around. Goof-ons are backup. Oh, no. Please, don't send Reacher. Do not send the Goof-on crew. Third phase of moon. I understand I may say some things that are cringeworthy and borderline. I am not going to stop talking. I am going to be even more vocal. I can't be somebody I'm not. Third phase of moon. I'm not bad. And neither is third phase. They did their shit in the past. They're not doing bullshit videos anymore. There hasn't been a hoax on purpose.